Hi, welcome to FragHero, and looking for a blast of pure nostalgia? The PlayStation 1, or as we fondly called it,
and so you rebranded it with a refreshed, slightly smaller model in the year 2000.
the PS1. Launching onto the scene in 1994 in Japan and the rest of the world in 1995, this rectangular receptacle for all kinds of gaming delights was Sony's first foray into video games, or computer entertainment, as that famous startup screen so proudly professed. The console actually began as a joint venture between Sony and Nintendo, with both companies keen to create a gaming machine using CDs, but the partnership went about as well as EA's efforts to render actor Robbie Coltrane in 3 dimensions.
Hello, Harry, it's me, Hagrid.
But perhaps that's a good thing, because Sony's own creation ended up becoming one of the most iconic consoles of all time, with a few sequels you might be familiar with. And the games. Oh, we have to talk about the games, because this little grey box can boast one of the most seriously awesome back catalogues ever put to a 32-bit processor, and I really can't emphasise this enough, one of the worst 3D renderings of the actor Robbie Coltrane.
Getting ready for Quidditch, are you? It's going to be an exciting game. Ravenclaw is a fine team.
But which PS1 games are the best? I'm David for FragHero, and this is our list of the 10 best PS1 games of all time. Although it wasn't the first game in the series, Metal Gear Solid was an early pioneer of the stealth genre and made Hideo Kojima a household name within gaming circles. Metal Gear Solid encourages you to be sneaky rather than violent to get through these sections, and would go on to inspire countless stealth titles that also incorporated these elements. The game also came at a time when 3D graphics were becoming more commonplace due to the hardware capabilities of the PlayStation, and this allowed Kojima to utilise the game's cinematics in a movie-like way.
Finally here.
While the first Resident Evil game is the perfect introduction to 90s horror games, its sequel is where the early series really found its form. Resident Evil 2 took the intimate, tight-knit corridors and halls of the first game and expanded it to new locations with a much higher variety in enemies and bosses. That's not without mentioning how the game also includes 2 different scenarios for each character, with each of Leon and Claire's stories changing depending on which order you play them in.
Who are you?
Ada Wong.
Inspired by car chase films such as Bullet, The Italian Job, and The French Connection, Driver is all about adapting the thrilling feeling the set pieces in those films elicited. The controls find a balance between going fully arcade and completely realistic, which allows it to feel like a cinematic experience. What's particularly enjoyable about this game is the fact that it always keeps you inside a car, and the minigames are a treat too, such as Survival, which pits you against an endless onslaught of police.
Well, you have my total attention now. I'm not quite sure if I've got yours, though. Hello?
I'll heel and hide you to a barn door yet.
Of course.
Yeah.
Tomb Raider's graphics, level design, and controls were considered revolutionary at the time. Unfortunately, the graphics don't hold up so well these days, and the platforming and sound design isn't quite what you might remember. However, this game still easily stands out as one of the most iconic of all time, inspiring countless sequels, movie adaptations, and even a certain PlayStation franchise from a later generation, but perhaps we'll get to that in another video. At any rate, when you think about iconic video game characters, Ms. Croft is surely right near the top of that list.
Cheryl? Is that Cheryl?
Often claimed by many to be one of the best PS1 horror games of all time, Silent Hill follows everyman Harry Mason as he searches for his daughter in the eponymous cursed ghost town. While it's often compared to the Resident Evil series, which had big scary monsters and action-oriented gameplay, Silent Hill's scares come from psychological elements and a distressing atmosphere, namely the town's iconic fog-ridden streets that use the limitations of the PS1 to frightening effect. Although every Final Fantasy game on the PlayStation was strong, it makes sense to shout out the 7th in this JRPG series. It was the first in the franchise to switch to 3D character models, as well as using full motion video and a more realistic presentation. However, the biggest impact it had on gaming culture was thanks to its story, setting, and themes. For many, the success of the PlayStation is synonymous with Final Fantasy VII.
Beyond the edge of reality lies a story of ultimate conquest, a story of war and friendship.
The Gran Turismo series has become famous as an innovative simulator racer, and it established its realistic reputation right out of the gate. Graphically, the game looked gorgeous for its time, and really set itself apart from more arcade racers like Ridge Racer with its solid controls and wide variety of cars. The soundtrack was also fantastic, and kicked off the franchise's incredible love affair with music. As Nintendo had Mario, PlayStation had Crash Bandicoot, and it's an association that lingers to this day, despite the fact he's now technically Microsoft's property. If you grew up with a PS1 in the 90s, chances are you played at least one of this orange marsupial's many platforming classics, though it's the original game we want to spotlight on this list. Its sheer difficulty makes it a great contender for one of the hardest games ever made, and while it hasn't aged as gracefully as we might like, it pioneered a whole new style of 3D platforming in contrast to the 2D side-scrollers that came before.
Just because life is doomed, and everyone wants to eat you.
When most games had switched to trying 3D, Oddworld inhabitants decided to refuse that, and then created one of the best platformers of the late 90s. Oddworld Abe's Odyssey follows a labourer working for a meat processing factory who decides to escape the facility and liberate his fellow slaves. The enhanced power of the PlayStation meant that more detail could be shown on screen, which further emphasised the gritty industrial aesthetics the game contained.
That's me. My name is Abe. I was Employee of the Year. Now I'm dead meat.
Most of us will have played this game on a demo disc back in 1999, and while it gets a fair shake due to its awkward platforming and camera controls, Medievil is certainly a great ride if you're a fan of movies like Beetlejuice and Nightmare Before Christmas. It's a comedy horror game set in a Tim Burton-esque world where you play as a resurrected skeleton soldier who sets out to become a hero and save the world from an evil wizard. The game would see a sequel as well as 2 remakes, one for the PSP and another for the PS4. Well, that was our list of the 10 best PS1 games of all time. Do you agree or disagree? What's your favourite PS1 game? Be sure to let us know in the comments and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. We love everything gaming, tech and entertainment, so be sure to subscribe to see more of it from us. Until next time, I've been David for FragHero, and this is PS1 Hagrid.
If it was Lord Voldemort, he who must not be named, and you better be on your guard. He's a dangerous foe. I've got a present for you, Harry. I made it myself. Some creatures find music very relaxing. If you play the right tune, you can send them to sleep. In fact, I remember this very tune that I used to...